Hello everyone, I am Prashant Nandam. Welcome back to our channel. And today, as a part of our AWS Masterclass series, we will be covering our session 2. Let's have a look into it. In our previous session, we have completed introduction to cloud and what are cloud providers and difference between cloud and cloud computing and cloud deployment models and also cloud service models we have completed. And today in session 2, we will be covering most important topics for a IT guy, which is not only for DevOps engineer, but also they are useful for all the streams. The session 2 involves software development cycle and waterfall model and agile methodology. We will cover these three topics today. Let's begin. Uh, First, we will see SDLC, which is software development life cycle. We'll see first thing SDLC, which is also known as software development life cycle. Cool. Let's keep it here. And in software development life cycle, we will be having multiple phases. Before that, let's see what is SDLC. In general, software development life cycle is a structured process and that defines the steps involved to develop, test, maintain the high quality of software. Okay, and in simple words, we can use SDLC to develop a software. Okay, and the stages which are used in software development life cycle we'll be seeing further. Let's begin. In software development lifecycle, we'll be having multiple phases, and most of the organization will have 7 phases. Okay, and let's me make a diagram for you. Just a moment. Okay, let's take this. Oh, yeah, this is fine. What we have discussed in SDLC, we have 7 stages, and they are like, if we consider this as one, why it came there? Just bear with me. Let me prepare a diagram for you. I'm just making things easier. And this is okay. Let me move this here and this here and this. Now it will be nice. Cool. This is fine. Okay. What we have discussed, SDLC is a structured process to uh, develop, test, and maintain high quality software. Okay. In SDLC, we will be having multiple phases, and in organization, if you want to build a product, or if you want to create an application, and these phases are, this is the structured process, and this defines the steps to develop, test, maintain that particular application or software, whatever it may be. Okay, and this is called SDLC, and in SDLC we have the first thing which is like requirement gathering. Okay, Where it is? Let's keep it here. Requirement. Why it's coming in that way? Requirement gathering or analysis you can call. Let me take it as analysis. Cool. This is fun. The first phase involves requirement analysis. In for an example, we are in a IT company. Let's assume we are in our organization name is A, and we have a client which is B, and our client came to us, and he wanted to have a application for his e-commerce or any other. Uh, then what we have to do? First thing in our SDLC, software development lifecycle, the first thing we have to do is requirement analysis. Okay, we will be having meeting with the client B. We will understand their user needs. I mean, we will understand the user needs, and we will see what requirement they are expecting and what are their expectations, and how they wanted to have the UI, and what is the main agenda for their application, and all those things we will gather. Okay, and then what we will do, we will prepare a document, and it depends. In every organization they will send take an approval via email. They will have some documentations, etc. And after gathering in analysis or requirement analysis or details, we will be having complete information like what are the client expectations, all those things. Okay, and once we get these things, after we are getting these details, after we are getting the required analysis, we will move to planning. Okay, planning. The next phase is planning. In first phase we received what their expectations, all those things, and in the second phase we have to plan. We will be having development team, testing team, design team, uh, maintenance team, all those team. And the organization, I mean our organization, will be having a meeting internally with our team, and based on the requirements we gathered in the first phase, we will plan the timeline of the product, and what are the resource we need, and what are the cost optimization, all those things we will be taking care in the planning step. And again we will be having documentation, and we will be getting approvals, all those things. And after getting plan after completing the planning, we will be moving to design. Okay, we in first phase we gathered information. We we had a meeting with our stakeholders along with the gathered information. We have done planning. We prepared cost optimization, I mean cost estimation, and what are the resources we need, by which timeline we can complete. In resources, in the sense where we are going to deploy, or multiple things will come. And after completing the planning, we'll be moving to design. Now the design team will start creating the architecture and database schemes, and the UI, what the UI the customer has agreed in the requirement analysis, and after planning we will be providing, and we'll be taking confirmations from them. Then we will be designing the tool. The developers or whoever the respective team, they will be designing the architecture and preparing the code, and the all the information they will be having. They will create the architecture, and they will see what UI mockups, so and everything can be done. Now after planning and design, the development team will start actually working on the code. They will start writing the code. Okay, after the design, what we have, development. coding or whatever it may be. This is where it comes. Now we have an idea how the design looks and what is the architecture we are going to perform. Everything we designed, and after design the development team will start working on the actual program code, and they will write code and they will perform the everything based on the requirements we gathered and the planning we have done, and the architecture which we are going to perform, which we have committed. All those things, uh, based on those complete information, they will be developing a code. The development starts and they will be writing the code, and after the completion of code preparing, they will test it. Testing starts. Now the testing will the uh, in the testing, the appropriate team, testing team, whoever the assigned person, will ensure the software work as expected without any bug fixes. Okay, I mean without any bugs. The developers or the respective person will be performing the code, and then after completion of the code, the tester or the testing team or the assigned team will be testing the code, and they will ensure there are no bugs. And after the completion of testing, they will be deploying the code. They will be deploying it. Deploying. They will be deploying the code to users. Okay, and users, the application or the code which we committed is available to the user, and they will be testing it. The users will be using the application after the completion of deployment. And after deployment, what we have to do, we have not done yet. We have on the last phase. Let me keep it here. What we have after that, maintenance. Maintain, maintenance. This is really crazy. Maintenance. And then again, this is the cycle. Cool. These are the phases involved in software development lifecycle. Okay, hope you got it. And just as a recap, uh, software development cycle is also called as SDLC, and it is the structured process that defines the step-by-step process to build an application or to develop or test and maintain high quality of software. And what are the phases involved in this? First phase, requirement analysis or requirement gathering. We'll be having a meeting with our client, and they will be explaining what the requirements, like what are their expectations on the tool and why they wanted to use their tool. All those information we'll be gathering, and once it is done, we'll be having planning with our team, and we will prepare timelines and where we are going to deploy, what are the resources, and what is the cost estimation of we'll be calculating. After that, the design comes into the picture, and they create an architecture and everything design related information can be done over there. And after the completion of design, the developers will start writing the code, and everything can be done. And after the coding, it will be moved to testing. Testing will be the respective person will ensure there are no bugs and everything is working fine as expected. And once they confirm, we'll be moving it to deployment state. And once the application is deployed, it is publicly accessible to the users. And after the successful deployment, uh, it again keeps on maintain. I mean, we have to maintain the application. We have to see any users reporting bugs or something like. That's how the SDLC. Hope You understood the SDLC cycle? Cool. Now we have another thing to discuss. Now we'll see model. Waterfall model. Let me keep this here. Waterfall model. Okay. And in waterfall model, I can tell you like it is a very traditional model, and it is like it is the first SDLC. The waterfall approach was the first software development lifecycle model and used widely in software engineering to ensure success of the project. Okay. Initially, we were used to use the waterfall model, and in waterfall model, the whole process of the software development is divided into separate phases. Okay, again there are multiple phases, we'll discuss into it. And in this waterfall model, the outcome of one phase acts as the input of the next phase. That is a major thing. Cool, you got it, what I mean to say. Let's see waterfall model first. We'll be we discussed we have multiple phases in the waterfall model, right? And before that, let me give a short overview. The waterfall model was introduced by Dr. Winston Royce in 1970s. Okay, introduced in 1970s, and it was the one of the first SDLC model. Waterfall model is the one of the first software development lifecycle model. That is also another point. And then it is adapted widely because of its simplicity and structured process. And now it is but however it was less flexible compared to the modern approaches like agile model. Before moving to agile, we'll see waterfall model. And as I mentioned earlier, waterfall model was the one of the first SDLC model. And in this waterfall model, the outcome of the one phase acts as the input for the next phase. And let's see this. Same again, we'll be having multiple phases. First phase is requirement analysis or gathering. Will be as discussed in the SDLC software development lifecycle. We'll be gathering the information here. Yeah, let's keep this thing. It's very big here. SDLC. And the second thing is in requirement analysis, we'll be gathering the all the requirements before we developing the products. And after that, we will be designing design will create architecture. And in design, what we'll do, we'll create architecture and database scheme, again the UI, everything. And once the design is done, what we'll do, the developers will start writing the code, implementation, we can say implementation. or coding. Here implementation or coding comes, and after implementation and coding, the testing comes into the picture. Testing. After testing, deployment will come. First let me write the phases, then I'll give you the one important line. Testing after the deployment, and we'll be having testing, deployment, and then maintenance. What we have? Maintenance. Wonderful, we are done. See, in waterfall model, as we discussed in software development life cycle, and the waterfall model is one of the first software development lifecycle model. Okay, and in the requirement analysis, we'll gather all requirements before we proceeding to the development. And in design, we will create architecture and we will create database schema. Everything can be done here, UI design and all those things. And in implementation, will the developers or the concerned team will be actually working on that by writing a code. They start writing the code. After completion of writing the code, the testing comes into the picture, and after testing, deployment comes into the picture, and after that, maintenance. But here the crazy thing is, we, as I mentioned earlier in my beginning lines, what I have mentioned, the outcome of one phase is the input of next phase. So here we'll be gathering the information to develop uh, a product, correct? And all the detailed information or requirement analysis are documented, and they will be taking an approvement. And after this phase only, the design starts. And in the design, the specification from first phase we'll be getting, and the system design help in hardware system requirements, all those things will be gathering, architecture and everything. After that, the implementation starts. Right now, once we committed to the design, we cannot go back to the design after coming into implementation and code. Okay, let me put it to you again. The requirements is the outcome here, and the outcome of this requirement is the input of this design. Okay, and the outcome of the design is the input of the implementation code. So we'll be taking the outcome of design, we'll be writing the code. Now if you want to make changes anything in the design, then it is not possible, because we cannot go up and create the design again. This is very tough and hectic and cost consuming as well. If the and after implementation and coding, the outcome of this implementation coding will be the input of the testing. And after completing the testing, and if we see any bugs or something, like, we cannot directly go back to the code and do all those things again. It is time consuming and it will take more time, and we have to be 100% sure before deploying the product, because once the deployment is done, we cannot make changes. And if you see, the reason why we call it as a waterfall model, it is like a water, if you consider this as a water drop, it is falling, it is dropping from step by step, right? That is why I have drawn this point, diagrams. And after everything, we cannot go back to the previous steps. That's how waterfall model works. Hope you understood. If not, put a comment in the section after uploading the video. I'll try to answer your queries or try to explain more on this. And one more major thing is it is not suitable for complex projects. Cool. Remember, waterfall model is like waterfall, and after the first phase completion, the result will be the input for the next second phase. And once we get into second phase, we cannot move back to the first phase. Okay. And the last thing I wanted to discuss here is agile methodology. Agile methodology. Let's keep it here itself. Let me make it a 24. This is fine. Now we'll look into agile methodology. And in agile methodology, the process is like uh, it is taken to sprints, like small task, I can say in simple words. And in agile it believes that every project that's need and every project needs to be handled differently, and the existing method needs to be tailored to the best suit of the project requirements. And in agile the tasks are the task will be divided into sprints, or divided into time boxes, or like small time frames, I can say. And if you see here, I'll make a diagram for you again. In the definition of the agile is an iterative and flexible software development lifecycle model, and where development is done in small interact increments, in sprints, I can say, like, and feedback is continuously incorporated. And again, how it works, same process will be, but it is in sprints here. Okay. The in we have seen what is software development life cycle and what are the process involved. Then what we have seen waterfall model. In waterfall model, what we have observed, it is not suitable for complex projects, and it is the first uh, uh, outcome of the first process will be the input for the second phase. And once the second phase start, we cannot go back to the first phase, and it is really, if it required to go back, then it is again time consuming and cost consuming, we have discussed, and the steps also we have discussed. In agile methodology, to avoid that scenarios, they have made they have made a methodology, and where the projects are divided into small parts or small sprints, and the software is delivered incrementally with continuous feedback. Okay. And just to brief, in 90s, I believe 1990s, software development needed faster, more adaptable way when compared to waterfall model. Software development needed a faster and more adaptable approach than waterfall model. Okay. Let me keep it this side. Okay, let's move this a bit, and now let's keep it here. Waterfall model. And in 2001, 1919s, we required a more faster and adaptable approach than the waterfall model. And in 2001, 17 experts created the Agile Manifesto. Agile Manifesto introducing agile principles, introducing introducing agile principles. Okay, and now if you see, agile is the most widely used methodology in most of the IT companies. Agile is now the most widely used methodology in IT companies or IT sector, I can say. Okay, methodology in IT companies. Now let's see what are the key principles of the agile methodology. And here, customer collaboration is more important. Customer collaboration is more important. And then we have to respond to the change over following strict plan. If there any change, we have to respond to that, and then delivering the work software very frequently. And we'll see individual or teamwork also required. And let's get into the planning. Again, let me take the same shape here. Where it was. This is. mm, This is nice. And we have planning here. In agile methodology also, planning is required. Yeah, planning is important. And one in planning, what we'll do, we'll select the features for the first sprint. If we have 10 features, we can consider in first sprint we can release 5 features or something like. We'll be selecting the features for this first sprint, and after that sprint we will prepare simple designs. We'll prepare simple design for chosen features. Here we'll select uh, features for the sprint, and we'll prepare simple design for that sprint. And then we will develop the code for those sprints. And after the we will be testing, and after testing delivery of the or delivery I release, I can say delivery or release of the software is done. And then feedback or review, I can say feedback and review happens. And then again the line goes on. Okay, let it be. In we have, as I said, we'll be having multiple sprints. In we will choose the planning and the design everything as per our sprints. And in first sprints we'll be delivering few options, and second sprint we'll be delivering few options, and it goes on. And if you see, in sprint 1 we can design login and registration of that particular application we can do. And in sprint 2, product search and cart. If you taking a example as an online shopping app, we can just see sprint 1 we can use login registration. For login registration, everything again starts. For login registration, planning is done, simple design is done, development is done, testing is done, delivery is release, everything goes on. Again in sprint 2, product research goes on. And in sprint 3 payment gateway, sprint 4 order tracking, everything goes on. And with agile, customer get working features early and frequently instead of waiting for the entire project to finish. That's why agile is very famous. Hope you understood. And if you have any queries, anything, feel free to drop a comment in the channel. I'll explain the scenarios again in brief. I see most of you guys are watching the videos but not subscribing. I request you all to subscribe and share it with the people who are learning, who are interested in DevOps learning and who are interested in the course like AWS or learning, looking to learn cloud. And in our next session, session 3, we will be starting AWS course. These two sessions are like fundamentals, I can say. Before learning any cloud, you have to understand what is cloud, who are cloud providers, what is cloud computing, what are deployments, what are service models. And after that, you have to know what are the SDLC, software development lifecycle, and what were the waterfall model has done, and what was agile methodology is doing or agile model is doing. These things you have to know. And by this video I can conclude we have done enough information in the two sessions, session 1 and session 2. And in the coming video, session 3, we'll be seeing how to create an AWS account, and we will be seeing introduction to AWS console, and then we will setting up IAM user and permissions. Then we'll see what are the AWS regions. That's it for today from my end. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more videos. Thank you. Have a great day.